My name is Benny Lee. I'm from the west side of Chicago. Come up in the Vice Lord Nation starting back in 1966. I was one of the youngest chiefs of one of the branches of the Vice Lords back in going into 67. We were the Apache Vice Lord. Bobby Gore, he was known as the supreme leader of all the Vice Lord Nation. He was in Stateville when we got indicted, and he helped organize some things on our behalf while he was in Stateville. But he got paroled in 79 before we even left Stateville. He became a director of the Safer Foundation, and he started noticing how the police started to investigate gang activities. Because like you was mentioned earlier, a lot of gang activities died down in the middle 70s. Because, you know, during the 60s, you had the LSD movement. Black street gangs became part of the Black Power movement. They were going after grants, opening up businesses. That's very dangerous. Right, getting a lot of grants, right? Would have been profitable for the community supported, right? And so they locked up all the heads, shut down all the grants. And that's when a lot of them end up in prison. In my generation, we got caught up in the early 70s with the Superfly era. And that's what happened. While they were locked up, you know, because like in the 60s, you know, you had James Brown singing Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. The Impression singing Keep On Pushing. The Temptation had a whole album, Message to the Black Man. And people were wearing dashikis and afros. And in the show, you had Jim Brown and Fred Williams talking about power to the people. But then when they locked all the heads up and killed off Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, all those black leaders, right? They flooded the media now with Superfly and the Mac. And that changed the consciousness of the black young generation. And so now we got rid of our dashikis and afros and started wearing Superfly hairdos, tailor-mades and stuff. And ain't no more Jim Brown in the show now. Now you got the Mac and Superfly, right? And now everybody into that movement. And that's why you didn't see a lot of gang activities during that era. And so now we start going to prison as a result of President Nixon's war on drugs, or on addiction. And when we end up in prison, that's when the Pontiac happened. And now, when you got the early 80s, a lot of us is coming home now and start reorganizing. You know, so you had guys like G-Shark on the streets then. You had King Neal, Fred Gage, Walter Weed, all these were guys as head of branches of street organization. And they started organizing, and now the media flooding the community with New Jack City. And that's the first time you start seeing Chicago black street gangs get involved in the drug trade, right? It's been somewhere around the 90s, and Scarface hit the scene. Everybody wanted to be a gangster. So the media and what was happening moved and shaped the culture of street gangs.